First, prepare your slab by screening the surface with the flat side of your metal rib. This takes the texture off of the surface, but also compresses it down and gives you the most smooth finish and is resistant to cracking and warping. Then you're going to line up your template on the surface, trying to avoid any defects in your slab, dents, wrinkles, things of that sort, and then cut out your template shape. I use the triangular blade on the end of my dentist tool to do this because it's going to give you the cleanest, most exact line. Make sure to keep your tool straight up and down and remove the extra pieces of clay as you cut them off so that they don't re-stick to the slab. Now carefully cut the internal cuts that will create the folds or the overlaps on your origami bowl. Make sure you're keeping your knife straight up and down. Then I'm going to remove my template and make sure I haven't missed any cuts, and then figure out which side of the cut I need to score based on which side overlaps. So the side that's going to go on top, I'm going to leave alone, and the side that is going underneath or behind, I'm going to score there. So I'm marking with my tool so that I can see which side of the cut I need to score on, and also so that I don't score much farther than I need. Then I'm going to score all the way around at each cut on this side of the slab. Now I'm going to flip over the slab and score the opposite side of the cut. So in this example, I scored the left side, then I flipped it over, and now I'm going to score the right side of each of the cuts. Don't skimp on your scoring because there's going to be a lot of pressure on these slabs, on these joints, to kind of hold the bowl in place, and so if you haven't scored enough, they're going to start to peel apart. Now I'm going to join the scored areas, overlapping my two pieces. I'm careful that I'm moving slowly and watching that the clay isn't cracking, and I'm pressing along the seam all the way from top to bottom and giving it a little wiggle to try and get that Velcro action to engage. If you've got too much slip, the pieces will slide right apart. So if that happens, you just want to pull them apart, score again, and then put them back together, making sure that you have less slip this time. And I'm spreading the slip all the way along my scoring to make sure I have good contact between the pieces. So you're pressing hard enough that you get the two of them to join, but you're being careful not to press your fingerprints or indents into the clay. If the clay splits, like you can see here, stop, take a minute, and score all over the split with your serrated side of your rib. So what you're trying to do is get those two pieces of clay to join, kind of mesh back together. So you're going to rough them up, and then take the smooth side of the rib, like you can see here, and slide back over to smooth everything out and also crisp up, in my case, that edge of the slab that I had rounded out. Repeat your joining steps all the way around. Now we're ready to clean up the seams. So you can use a popsicle stick if you have one, your wooden modeling tool, or the corner of your plastic credit card. The plastic credit card works really well, but you do need to cut the end of it so that you don't have a rounded corner. You want a sharp 90-degree angle. And what we're doing here is we're dragging the tool. So if you have a popsicle stick, they work great, or if you get one from me in class, But you're cleaning up the slip that's squished out in your seams, and also making sure that if you rounded any of the edges of the slabs as you were pressing your seams together, that you're crisping those up and getting a nice sharp 90-degree angle on the edges of all of your slabs. You don't want anything to be rounded. You want a nice sharp corner like you can see here. Now I'm going to flatten the center to create the portion that sits on the table. And so as you're folding up the edges, the bottom kind of gets round, and so the tray or the bowl will be a little bit wobbly. So I'm supporting the edge of the slab, and then I'm just taking my pointer finger and kind of compressing all the way around. I'm not creating an indent, but I'm just kind of flattening out the bottom. So I don't want there to be kind of a mark from my finger, so I'm wetting my finger on the sponge so that it glides over the surface of the clay, but just flattening out that bottom there. Now that the front side is completed, I'm going to flip the bowl over, in this case on top of a jar so that I don't have to hold it. And then I'm going to clean up the seams the same way all the way around the back side, paying close attention to smooth out areas where I've scored a little bit outside my lines. I want to smooth those out as well. And the very last step is to do just a tiny bit of sponging on the edges of my slabs, just barely. My sponges basically has all of the water wrung out of it, and I'm just really lightly cleaning up any rough areas or any little straggly edges of the slabs. And this is what the finished product should look like. So in my case, I've got 2 cuts on the short ends and then 4 cuts on the longer ends, giving me a total of 6 cuts on my rectangle, which I think actually gives me a really nice tray.